I'm Alex from E2 Language. In this video, I'm going to take you step by step through an IELTS Writing Task 2. Before we get started, I just want you to imagine that you were preparing for a marathon, a running race. How would you do it? Would you listen to people talking about a marathon? Would you watch YouTube videos like this with somebody talking about how to run a marathon? Or would you start running? Would you practice running? That's what I want you to keep in mind. In this video, there are lots of opportunities for you to answer questions, to think, and of course, to write. So I really want you to do it. If you are preparing for the paper-delivered test, stop now, grab a pen and paper. I want you to write by hand. If you're getting ready for the computer-delivered test, you're going to type. Let's get into it. IELTS Writing Task 2, write with me. Now we're going to go through 4 steps basically in this class, and these are the same 4 steps that we use in all of our methods videos on e2language.com and in our live classes as well. And at the end of this session, actually throughout the session, you are going to write with me, and at the end I'm going to show you the full sample essay and I want you to edit it. Okay, so let's get started. Step 1 is to analyze and plan. This is the case for every topic in task 2. Step 2, we're going to follow the structure. I'll show you the basic outline today. Step 3, we write with the criteria in mind. And step 4, right at the end, check your work. So in the real test, you've got to think about timing, of course. So this is what we would recommend. About 4 minutes to analyze and plan when you first see your topic. 32 minutes, this is the writing stage. So the intro, the bodies, the conclusion. And another 4 minutes at the end to check your work. In today's lesson, don't worry about the time. I'll put timers on the screen, but in this case, I really just want you to practice writing. Don't worry too much about writing with time pressure. If you want to write with time pressure, come along to our live classes. We do it all the time. Let's analyze and plan. Here is today's task. And this task was sent in by one of our students. It's a recent topic from a real IELTS test. Let's check it out. Now we've got our instructions here up the top. You should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Instructions here at the bottom. Give reasons for your answer. Include any relevant examples from your knowledge or experience. Write at least 250 words. Those instructions are the same on every task. Here in the box is the different part. It says some schools have restricted the use of mobile phones. Is this a positive development or a negative one? Now, before you start writing, we need to look at this question. We need to analyze it. This is going to be crucial on test day as well. If you race ahead and start writing, you might miss something critical. So just a few seconds on this. Now, the first one here, it says some schools have restricted the use of mobile phones. Restricted the use of mobile phones. My first question that I'm asking myself, why? And my question to you, why have schools restricted the use of mobile phones? Think about it, or you can type it into the comments below. And my second question is how? How have schools restricted the use of mobile phones? Think about your country. If you have kids or you know kids, what are the rules about mobile phones at their school? Are they completely banned from the campus? Are they allowed in some areas and not other areas? Are they off limits inside the classroom? So how does this play out in your country and in your experience? So this first question is just a given. Some schools have rules about mobile phones. Okay, but here is our actual question. Is this a positive development or a negative one? And here you need to think about your own opinion on this matter. A question like this, to me, the easiest option to go with is that, yeah, it's positive. But before I launch into that, I've got to make sure I've got usually 2 good reasons. Why is it a positive development? On the other hand, you may think it's bad. You might think that there should be no rules about mobile phones. Can you back that up with some strong reasons? For me, I'm going to say that it's a positive development. Okay, and I'm thinking here about myself as a child in a classroom. I'm thinking about children I know in classrooms. I'm thinking about myself as a teacher or my friends as teachers. How do restrictions in schools on mobile phones improve life for them? So to me, it seems like it's a positive thing. Okay, and one reason why is it a positive development? I think because less phone access improves learning. So this is my main point, and this is going to be my first body paragraph. This is the main idea of that whole paragraph. Schools have restricted mobile phones, and this is a positive development because less phone access is good for learning. That's not enough. Now I have to really develop that idea. I'm aiming at Band 8, Band 9, and part of the criteria is about idea development. So I run through a series of questions in order to flesh out my paragraph. So I'm thinking here, explain, example, effect, link. You can probably spot here I'm using a single idea paragraph. If you want to know more about the paragraph structures that we use at E2 and that we find really successful, that's in our Writing Task 2 section of the course on E2 Language. But basically, I want to ask myself these questions. Okay, so my point is that less phone access improves learning. How does that happen? How does not having access to phones improve learning? Think about that for a moment. I would say because there are fewer distractions in the classroom. So fewer distractions, less urge to grab my phone, less buzzing and beeping happening. Next thing I want to include in my paragraph is an example. So here I'm thinking, prove it. How can I make the examiner see and feel what I'm talking about? So here I'm going to paint a picture of a student or students in a classroom and that constant urge they have and the constant urge that we have as adults to check our phones. And obviously all of this means less attention is given to the teacher. And also the teacher has less time to give to the students because they're checking everybody's phones going off. My next point here is the effect. So now I'm really stretching out my idea. Okay, so less phone access can improve learning. How? Fewer distractions. Imagine kids in class with their phone beeping and buzzing, how annoying that is. Then what's the effect? So what? So what if the kids are distracted by their phones? What impact does that have on them, on the rest of the class, on their future? So I'm going to say it takes attention from the lesson. This also reduces their attention span. And both these things can have long-term impacts. So this effect part is a real stretching of my idea. Thinking Band 8, Band 9, fully developed ideas. Lastly, I finish my paragraph with a link. So this is a link forward to the next paragraph. I might start to introduce the next idea or a link back to the topic. And really here I'm asking myself, am I still on topic? Sometimes at the end of your paragraph, you might notice that actually you've drifted really far away from the question. So use this sentence to just check that you haven't gone too far and hopefully just to kind of tie up that paragraph. So for me, I'm going to basically say, so banning phones in the classroom is positive. So I'm just coming back to that main point. And this is the skeleton of my body 1 paragraph. Okay, so that's just 1 paragraph. Introduction's already done. Now I need my second body paragraph. Okay, and here, this is where I want you to have a think about another reason. So I've said 1, phone restrictions are good because it helps learning. What is another reason why limiting phone use at school could be positive? So think here maybe outside the classroom, in the playground or in the group areas of a school. Why would not having your phone be beneficial? Something that I think is that less phone use improves well-being for students. So health and also the social aspect of being at school can be improved when students don't have full access to their phones. Now, for this same point, I want to go through those questions and that extension of my idea, but I want you to do this one. So You can use my idea that less phone use improves well-being, or you can use your own idea, totally fine. And I want you to take 90 seconds now to go through all of those steps, all of those questions to develop your idea. Here we go. So it probably seemed like that took a long time, but on test day, you'll do all of that within 4 minutes, no problem. And it's a very important step, don't skip it. So after that, we are ready to follow the structure and begin writing. Now, this is the essay structure that I'm going to recommend. There are many different ways to structure your essays. Basically, it comes down to an introduction and a conclusion. And what goes in between depends on the question and depends on your answer. But basically, you're going to choose either single idea paragraphs or double idea paragraphs or a mixture of the two. And you're going to have a minimum of 2 body paragraphs, minimum of 2. But sometimes you'll have 3, you may even have 4. For my one today, I'm going to use 2 body paragraphs. My intro follows these 3 steps: background statement, a specific statement, and the answer to the question. Body 1, I'm going to give my first reason, and body 2, my second reason, why it's positive development, and then I'll finish with the conclusion. So with all that in mind now, we are ready to write, and we're going to write with our criteria in mind as always. These are the 4 criteria: task response, coherence, cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range, and accuracy. Just before we go on, I want you to take 60 seconds and type or write down or just think about all of the features of these 4 criteria. Can you remember, what do you have to do to score well in task response? What do you have to do to score well in coherence and cohesion? So just take a moment and remind yourself of those important things. If you're a little bit lost, you don't know what the criteria are or how you can meet them, check out our video on the Writing Task 2 criteria here on YouTube, or we have an even better one over in our course on E2Language.com. Take a minute now to see what you can remember. How did you go? Here are some of the basic things that you should keep in mind. I won't go through them in detail, but pause or take a screenshot if you want, and make sure you write with all of these things on your mind. So I've got my plan, I've analysed the question, I know how I'm going to structure my essay, I know how to structure a single idea paragraph and a double idea paragraph. I've made all of those decisions. Let's write our introduction. On the screen, I've got our question up the top and my introduction structure in the middle. So background statement, the topic, specific statement, the task. So I go from quite broad, what are we talking about here? The topic that we're dealing with is phones in schools, right? The task, what exactly is the question that we're dealing with? And the third sentence, what do I think about it? What's my opinion? What's coming up in my essay? Okay, I'm going to step you through it here. This is my background statement. In most schools around the world, students have their own mobile phone. Super simple background statement, just letting the reader know this is the area that we're in today. Specific statement, so I want to deal with the task here. Now remember up here, some schools have restricted the use of mobile phones. Is it positive or negative? While these devices can undoubtedly play a role in safety, connectedness, and even learning, many schools have chosen to restrict their use on campus. Notice already that I've got coherence and cohesion in mind with my linking words. These devices, their use. Also, I've got a complex sentence starting with the subordinating conjunction, while. Third sentence. In my view, this is a positive step and can bring benefits, not only academically, but physically and socially too. So the reader knows what my opinion is, there is no doubt. I think it's positive, and coming up in my essay, the reader expects to see how it's positive academically, physically, and socially. Take a moment to read through, and now it's over to you. I want you to write your own introduction and follow those 3 steps. You've got 6 minutes to do this. Did you use some cohesive devices in your intro? Are there any complex sentences in there? Have you checked your spelling? Have you used some topic-specific vocab? Keep that criteria in your mind. Intro is done. Let's go on to body one. Now, this is how I'm going to structure my body one single idea paragraph. I use the acronym PEEL: point, explain, example, effect, link. If you come to our live classes, you know that there should be some flexibility with this structure, but it's a useful way to develop a good paragraph. And I'm going to step you through it sentence by sentence, but I want you to write with me. So I'm going to give you the first sentence and then I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, so we're going to write together, sort of. Here is my main point for this paragraph, my topic sentence. Restricting phone use in the classroom itself can improve learning. This is the main point, the big idea. Okay, so there we go. We've got the first sentence. Now I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to write a sentence, then I'm going to show you my sentence. Okay, so my first question now is how or why. So restricting phone use in the classroom itself can improve learning. So my next part of the paragraph is to explain, and I do that by answering these questions. How does restricting phone use improve learning? Okay, take 90 seconds and write your next sentence. Go. Here's my answer to that question. So restricting phone use in the classroom itself can improve learning. This is simply because without these devices, there are far fewer distractions for teachers and students. So that's the reason, fewer distractions. Next question, give me an example. Okay, so I want you in the next sentence or two sentences to paint me a picture of a classroom. Show me what it's like in a classroom where students are distracted by their phones. Okay, so you have 90 seconds for this. Go. And here's how I've developed that example. This is simply because without these devices, there are far fewer distractions for teachers and students. When a student has their phone in their lap or pocket, for instance, there is an irresistible urge to check constantly for texts, alerts, or social media updates. Even the most observant teacher cannot prevent them from sneakily checking their messages or scrolling through this irrelevant material during the lesson. So my example is 2 sentences long there, and I'm trying to paint that picture of the reality of phones in the classroom. Okay, next question, you ready? What effect can this have? So students in the classroom are distracted by their phones. Everybody's got a phone, it's beeping and buzzing. What impact can this have? So think about the student's future. Think about the classroom dynamic. 90 seconds. I want you to write the next sentence now. Okay, what effect can this have? Here's my answer. These endless distractions draw attention away from important educational matters and erode attention spans, which can have long-term effects on academic progress. Okay, so these distractions take attention from important things. They have an impact on how long you can concentrate, and all of this can have a long-term impact. Final thing. Onto the link. Now, remind me, why should phone use be restricted? So we're going to come back to our question here, or our idea that it's a good idea to restrict phone use. So final sentence, tell me again, why should phone use be restricted? 90 seconds, go. Here's my final sentence. A blanket ban on phones during class frees learners from this compulsive checking and allows them to focus. all wrapped up. And that is our body one. It's beautiful. It's going to score really well. It's fully developed. There are examples. There's lots of topic-specific vocab in there. It's linked together. Every sentence is holding hands with the sentences before and after. Let's go on to body two. So on the screen here, I've got the topic and I've got my intro, my body one, and here is the structure for body two. And I want you to write this one without any help from me, but go through that same process. A topic sentence, and then explain how or why. Prove it to me with an example or paint me a picture. Tell me about the effect. So what will happen? And link back to the topic. So for this one, you've got 10 minutes. Start writing now. So how did you go? Now remember, I'm going to show you a full sample at the end that you're going to edit for me, but let's get the conclusion done. So intro, body 1, body 2 done. Over to the conclusion. Now 2 sentences is enough for a conclusion. You want to make a broad statement, kind of like the introduction, a broad statement about this topic of phones in classrooms or phones in schools, and then summarize your argument, summarize your opinion. So just restate the same things from body 1 and 2 again. And you've got 6 minutes to do this. Go. Remember what I said about the marathon runner? Make sure that you are actually writing and doing the work yourself. Don't just watch or listen. You've got to write if you want to improve your writing. Now it's time to check your work, but in this case, you're going to check my work first. This is a list of the most common errors that we see. These are mainly grammar and vocab errors, okay, and you probably recognize some of them. Subject-verb agreement, that's a big error, really common error. Errors with nouns, articles, of course, are and the, verb tenses, prepositions, fragments, run-on sentences, non-grammatical sentences, and so on, down to punctuation and spelling. These kind of errors can be either serious ones or just minor ones, but too many of them will cost you a band 7. So you need to get used to editing and correcting them in your own work. Okay, but let's start with my essay. Here it is, and there are 14 errors in this essay. So I want you to take 2 minutes to try to find and fix all 14. Here we go. So did you find all 14? Could you fix them? I'll show you where they are, first of all. So I've highlighted in yellow all of the spots with errors. So for example, in the intro, we've got in most schools around the world, students have their own mobile phone. While this devices, can you see the problems there? Hopefully you can. Take another 60 seconds and try to fix anything that you missed the first time. Go. Are you feeling confident with that? So I'm going to show you the corrections just for the intro and body 1. Okay, and then I want you to put in the comment box the other errors, so the problems in body 2 and the conclusion. So tell me what the correct answer should be. And if you want to check, you'll be able to download the full essay from the description below. So here are the corrections for the intro and body 1. Pause now and just double check that you got it right. And when you're ready, give your attention to body 2 and the conclusion. Let me know in the comments section what the correct answers should be, and then download and check with the full sample essay. And that's it. You've written a complete IELTS Writing Task 2, but if you want more, check this out. When you log in at e2language.com, go to your course and click on Writing Task 2. Here you'll find heaps of resources to help you prepare for this part of the test. In the overview section, you can find out all about the marking criteria, the different essay types, some golden rules, get our essay structures. Then you can learn how to write intros, body paragraphs, conclusions, plus join Jay as he steps you through all these different types of essays, from opinions to double questions. Thanks for writing with me today. Keep practicing, and I'll see you soon.